I'm really excited about this session. Talent, it's all about talent and culture development. There's nothing more important to our businesses than our people. We're a people industry. Without them, we are nothing. So we've been challenged with attracting and retaining talent. That's been an issue. Now there's this thing called quiet quitting that we have to deal with. So how do we manage all this? How do we structure our companies and our teams? How do we create dynamics in our workplace that make it where people want to come into an office and they want to be part of your company? So we're about to find out. This is going to be an interactive exercise. We have David Seals, Director of Strategic Growth at Root, which is an Accenture company. He's here to run an interactive session. And we have some volunteers here to help us figure this out. They've been volunteered to come on stage. So why don't we bring everybody up? We have Natalie, Alex, Brian, and Carol. And joining them is, of course, David Seals.
Well, thank you, everyone, and thank you for the welcome, and especially to you all who are going to have a conversation. So we're going to do this kind of fishbowl style today, where they're going to have a conversation that you're going to listen to, and you'll have your own thoughts and opinions that you can filter out into the rest of the conference and talk amongst one another. So when I flip this over, and not before, because we like drama in this space, you can open up and you'll see the same image on the inside of that 11 by 17 that's there. So we're going to do that in just a quick second. But a slide by way of preamble. So every few years, our friends from Gallup, who I love, wander out of the wilderness like a tired prophet and deliver the engagement results for all of us. And this year's engagement survey says this: with only 21% of employees engaged at work and 33% of employees thriving in their overall well-being, most would say that they don't find their work meaningful, don't think their lives are going well, or don't feel hopeful about their future. Oh my goodness. And you would be tempted to despair at this until you read the charts that say this is the second best it's been since 2009. Oh my goodness. This is not like a new crisis. This is not a COVID phenomenon. This is the way that a lot of people feel about their jobs. It doesn't have to be that way. So how do we fix that and what causes it? One more slide and then we'll jump into the experience. All right, so this is funny. Someone who's in front of a screen. What's going on here? What's this guy doing? Shout it out. What do you see? Zoning out. Is he zoning out or is he really focused? Yeah, he's super focused on the Mandalorian, right? He's sitting at his desk and he's looking at this screen that says, this is really important, emails with red exclamation points. This is how we talk to our people. One way tells. And we get really excited, even if you've got really great films that are engaging, that are telling the story of the strategy of your organization. It is often one way tells down to the employees, and they're eating at their desks, and they've got access to other amazing stories on their mobile phones all the time. You know this. We can create 30-second commercials that make people cry. And don't act like you haven't done that at one point in your life. And yet, we're still scaling corporate communications in a very old way internally. And what if we took some of our own medicine about the way that we know people in the world want to be engaged? And so we want to think about no longer communicating at our people, but changing the conversations that they're having within our organizations, because they're having conversations. And if you're not a part of them, you're missing out on an opportunity to shape your culture in ways that bring people back into engagement. Okay, all right, so here we go. We're going to jump into the experience. Get your pieces of paper ready. My first question to you all is going to be a simple one, and it is this: what do you see?
There's a lot going on.
There is a lot going on. It's true. What jumps out at you? No right or wrong answers.
Fire drill.
There's a fire drill.
The whole scene is chaotic. There's
Fear.
Leaders are separated from managers, and managers are separated from customers.
Mm-hmm. And we've got these doers on the bottom. It's a little hard to see the word there. Comes into focus. We've got leaders, managers, doers, and then customers.
This person is sending a airplane message off somewhere into the ether.
Yeah. Where's is the airplane starting, actually?
Up here from the leaders and just going down into
Yeah,
the
some
doers.
paper airplanes.
And for some reason, the water's dripping, and Steve Ballmer is ignoring it right there.
At the
You see-
bottom?
Yeah, the guy with the pink shirt. Looks like Steve Ballmer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I don't see many smiling employees. A lot of frantic looks and sweating and stress.
Uh-huh.
There is a butterfly net, though.
There's a butterfly net. What's she trying to catch? He's trying to catch paper airplanes,
Paper
maybe?
airplane, that's right.
This guy up here is talking about the strategy and it's ready to execute. And then this woman down here is like, they don't get it.
Oh, yeah.
And
So,
looks like she's throwing the strategy in the garbage.
yeah, so if you follow the blue speech bubbles down, let's read those, actually, if you don't mind. All right, so you're our CEO.
Yes?
All right. Brian, you're our middle manager.
Yep.
Okay. And Alex, you're our doer at the bottom. Let's just read the bubbles down.
So the strategy is done. Now it's time for you to execute.
Great. But what does that mean for me and my team?
I guess I'll just keep doing it in the way I'm comfortable with.
Oh, no, grab the blue bubble
No,
there.
sure.
Sorry.
Seriously, they just don't get it.
Yeah. What's she doing with
So I
the
toss the
strategy?
strategy book into the trash.
She's throwing it in the trash can. Now, wait a minute. Look at this slide up here. What's going on with this? The strategy itself.
There's a lot of slides. 63 of 147.
Yeah, the strategy is so simple. We're on slide 63 of 147. That's not hard, right? Would you read the screen next to the strategy there? What's that
I
saying?
don't have my glasses,
In
but let's
purple.
see. It looks like 53% of executives, do not believe their company's strategy will lead to success.
So that's a Gardner statistic. So why is it, do you think, that's not us making stuff up, why is it that you think that 53% of executives don't believe that their strategy is going to lead to success?
They're communicating with paper airplanes down.
Uh-huh. But aside from this visual, I mean, this is actually true of real executives.
Well, they a lot of times it's done in like in a ivory tower
Yeah.
about where they think they should be going, and it's actually not really realistic for the people who have to do the actual innovation and work.
So there's like a lack of confidence I'm hearing down the chain that they'll actually bring it to life.
Yep.
Yeah.
Maybe they've seen this happen before. They've taken a similar approach in the past, and it's led to poor results. And they don't feel that there's new thinking or a new approach in this case.
Yeah. What else is going on? So let's focus on the leaders for a minute. What do you see going on up here in the C-suite?
A lot of puzzle pieces that are not put together.
Yeah, everybody's got their own piece of the puzzle. There's no box top to tell us how it all fits together.
Inward facing, there's kind of a wall of chairs that's dividing this group from the rest.
We've got the future marketplace in the top right corner of the visual. Who on our leadership team is looking at the future marketplace?
The guy with the
Binoculars.
binoculars.
So we got one person on the C-suite looking at the future marketplace.
But he doesn't have a puzzle piece, so.
He doesn't have a puzzle piece. It's true. Okay. So let's go over to Manager Island. What's happening on the Manager Island of the Canyon?
Well, I mean, one says, I'll do what my incentive package tells me to do, which I've always said people behave how they get paid. So that's absolutely true.
Yeah, that's great. So let's read down the purple bubble. Same rules as before.
Do as I say, not as I do.
I'll do what my incentive package tells me to do.
I guess I'll just keep doing it the way I'm comfortable with.
Interesting. So we got our doer on the ground, just like, I don't know, I'm just going to keep doing. All right, let's go to the green bubbles while we're here. We might as well.
We have to go fast, and we can do this no problem.
Now, hold on.
Oh.
What's her body language telling us?
She's pulling back,
And what's her hand doing?
crossing her fingers.
She's got fingers crossed.
Yeah.
We can do this, guys. No problem. Okay. What about the middle guy?
This is a big change. I'm not sure we can make it happen.
I don't know how to do this.
Thank you for the drama. I really appreciate that.
It's almost like we've been in that situation before, you know?
Yeah, he looks like he's trying to bring both sides together in some way. He's trying to he's being torn in two different directions, but he looks like he's trying to
Yeah,
pull it together.
absolutely. Okay, so back in the middle, the manager island, what do we see happening there?
She's getting ready to jump ship. She's brand new, and she's like, it says new manager, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's sort of like, I'm gonna leave.
Yeah, it looks like she might fall off. However, she's being trebucheted onto the island
Oh.
from the doers. So she's a new manager. She's a frontline leader who got promoted.
Mm-hmm.
And others are trying to connect the dots, by communicating with both. But in this case, it's analog on one side and digital on another, and different signals that they're getting from different directions.
Yeah, we're receiving a signal and trying to translate it down with a bullhorn, interestingly. What about the toolkit?
It's empty.
Empty. Hey, good luck, you guys. Hope it works out for you. Interesting. Okay. Let's go to the doer side of the canyon. What do we see happening there?
These guys are trying to bail out. There's a flood happening here, and they're just trying to empty the water as quickly as possible.
When they're literally in the trenches.
Yep.
Unsafe work environment. I see some hard hats and and others without any safety gear.
Yep.
The lights aren't even on. They're not plugged in.
Yep. Where's the power?
Looks like it's breaking from somewhere.
Yeah, so we got one guy who's inside the E who's pulling this wire out of the wall. I gotta get this. They told me to pull this wire out of the wall. And then on the other side, he has no understanding of the impact of that decision on the person who's looking to turn on the lamp. What else?
It's triage. Some are trying to put out fires. Others are trying to prevent floods. And everyone is working independently. There's not a lot of organization.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the impact on the customer?
They're suffering because she's shoveling all the stuff down onto the customers. They're not actually being supported in the way they should be.
Yeah. Creating a little bit of a wall with a customer almost.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody on that side read the customer quotes. What are they saying?
Go ahead, Natalie.
Can you help me? And is anybody home?
Okay, so we've got a range of organizations here. Actually, go around real quick and give us your name and the size of your company, because I'm curious. Yeah, we didn't do that
I'm
big.
Natalie, and my company is 25 people.
26. Someone got hired today.
Oh, I
No,
didn't
no,
hear.
I'm just kidding.
That's what happens when you're on a conference all day.
It's a huge percentage of increase.
And Alex Probst with Google, about 150,000.
Okay. Brian Quinn, Pixability, 149,000, 75 people.
Carol Perry Draves with IAB, probably about 80 to 90 people.
Yeah. Okay, so there's one big thing on this visual that we haven't discussed. What's the
tornado.
The tornado. What are we looking at there? What does that represent?
The environment, everything that we are facing right now in today's environment.
Yeah. Everything outside of our walls that we can't control. If you were to see the visual that everyone out here has, at the very top of it, what's the word at the top? The top of the tornado.
Technology?
Pandemic. We didn't get pandemic onto this visual, right? But that's just a little external disruption that's happened over the last couple of years. So how does this represent, does this resonate? Where have you seen this play out in the organizations that you worked with?
Can't relate to any of it, really.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, I think it's it's easy for people to kind of work in their own direction or take bring different approaches to the job that aren't always communicated with those above and below them. And I think we've all been in situations where you feel that you don't have the information you need to make the right decision or help the customer at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd say the changing workforce demographics. So people, as we went through the pandemic, there was a change in terms of how people are working. Many people were working 5 days a week before, and then it became fully virtual, and then it became hybrid schedules. So, and then people opting to no longer work at companies due to that, and just sort of changing their priorities of where they wanted to be in their lives.
I think my last company, when COVID happened, we started to realize we thought we were being transparent with the employees, but we weren't, because we do a QBR, all hands, and the management team is always trying to spin a positive, right? You wanted to give good news, and then we were talking about COVID, and we have to cut back 10% of the workforce, and we need optionality into next year, and like the feedback from especially like the engineers, like I thought we were doing so well. Like they had, every quarter you tell me we're doing so well, and like so after that we said we have to be a lot more, especially with a small company you can do that. Not so much if it's a public company, but
interesting. Well, thank you for having this conversation with us up here in front of everyone else. I really appreciate you engaging with the visual, and I hope that you all will keep having conversations. I want to take us to let you all go, think you down, and take us through just a couple nuggets.
Is this available for purchase?
Yeah, it's $100,000 per visual.
Thank you.
No, but you all have a handout with this, and you should be getting it digitally too, so that you have it. All right, so what do we do about these canyons, right? Gallup tells us that we have really low engagement, and we have since it's been tracked. And yet we see that this is often the way that we communicate within our own organization. So what do we do about it? And how do we make a change to what's happening? So the first thing that we see on this visual represented here is that leaders are often aligned on the overall direction, but fuzzy on the details of how we'll get there. And what that means is that they're not good at telling stories. And when you think about your senior team, where culture starts at the top of the house, right? I was just with a bunch of CHROs in Houston yesterday, and they were saying, it's a terrible job when you're the referee. Because like if you do a good job, nobody thinks about you. But if you do a bad job as the referee, then like it's all your fault that my team lost the game. And the executives are like, look at what a great culture I built. Look at what a terrible culture you've let happen, CHRO. And so as you think about it, do your leaders truly have alignment on what it is that is the current reality in our organization and where we're going, and how do we help them think about it? This is what we call a water cooler sketch. We interviewed the top 30 at an architecture engineering firm. And rather than handing them a PowerPoint, because that's boring, we drew a cartoon. And we said, this is what you told us. And the vignette at the bottom is really interesting because what we heard from them was, we've got a CEO that we love, we would follow him to hell and back, and we have two COOs who hate each other and disagree on the direction the company should be going. And in every meeting, it feels like mommy and daddy are fighting. What are we going to do about this? Could you please solve this, please, God? And so we drew it on a big piece of paper. We brought together the top 30 in the room, and we flipped it over. And then we just stood there and waited, and someone started laughing. And we said, what's funny? And they pointed to it, and they said, that's Vance and Jim, who were in the room, right? We had done a little bit of prep with Vance and Jim, so don't think we're cruel, right? But we were finally able to go after it because that senior team was honest for the first time in their lives about the dynamic that nobody wanted to talk about. And then we made them write truth statements about it. It was things like this. We must finally resolve the tension between our COOs. And if we do that, then we will transform our industry, right? And there were other truth statements on here about our vision for growth is outpacing our capacity. This was about a strategic plan rollout, and we unearthed all this stuff, and thank God we did before the strategic plan rollout, because we had some people on that leadership team who thought it was frankly passé and boring and not aggressive enough, and some people who were terrified that we weren't going to be able to execute it. And if we don't have senior teams who are willing to go after these kinds of truth statements that we unearthed at the beginning, then we're never going to roll it out. And so I would just encourage you, number one, to ask, is your senior team aligned on what your current reality is. Because if they're not, it's going to create a cultural failure that will not ever be fixed in the company. Your disengagement will remain high. Is that same senior team equipped to tell a compelling story about where we're going? Are they good storytellers? When they talk about it, are they giving a story about where your company is going that inspires people? And I'm talking about a story that has plot and characters. You almost want to teach people storytelling on your senior team. And is that story the same? And do the leadership behaviors support that story? If I've got a command and control CEO who is not interested in allowing for failure, I'm not going to have a culture of innovation. Okay, point number 2. The other thing that we see here on the middle managers of the canyon is this. Most managers struggle to interpret and communicate the strategy down to the front line to effectively mobilize their teams. What percentage of engagement, what percent of the variance engagement lives with your middle managers? What do you think? Research. Someone shout out a percentage. 30? 80? 70. 70% of the variance of employee engagement lives with your middle managers, and yet we often just give training to our middle managers, not leadership development. And I would argue that the primary role of your managers is not administrative. It is about driving engagement. Do they think of themselves as engagement drivers? If not, we have to teach them differently. We have to teach them to create teams that feel supported by their leadership, infused with purpose. Did they catch a vision for the great story of where your company is going and see themselves in it? We have to make them feel good at their jobs and celebrate the results when they get those business results, because that's important from them, and connected to their colleagues. Okay, last point, when we think about the bottom, employees are often overwhelmed by one-way tells with leadership. It goes back to that guy we talked about at the beginning on the screen with all these red exclamation points and town halls. And silence in your town hall is not the same as understanding. It's checked out. So how do we create experiences that inspire those people with more than one-way tells? This is a map that we did for a restaurant group where they came to us in the middle of a pandemic. Yes, restaurant, middle of pandemic. This is 2021. And they said, our culture is in the tank, our engagement scores are low. Can you help us? And so we created this experience with them that they lovingly refer to as their Candyland experience. And we took them on this journey of dialogue that started with, what are you proud of to work here? That went into this Pilgrim's Progress-y canyon of challenges where we talked about what was going on in the industry. What's the percentage of people who are engaging mobile and OLO in the restaurant industry? We talked about, why are we even talking about culture and purpose right now when you have so many other things to think about? We gave them trivia questions like this, like what percentage of purpose-driven companies have grown by how much percent in the last 10 years? And the answer is D, 1,000% compared to S&P companies. That's why we're talking about purpose before we ever get to our culture and values and purpose. And then we made them workshop those values. What does respect look like when you're sending an email? What does togetherness look like when you're in a meeting? We made them really work on from and to behavioral shifts. We're moving from continual emergencies to clear priorities. We're moving away from the way I've always done it to clear, consistent process. And then we made them rank those cards. Which of these will be easiest for us to do? And then we made them rank another set of cards. Which of these things will be most impactful on the business? Isn't that interesting? The cards that you ranked as easiest for us to do will be the least impactful on the business, and vice versa. Fascinating. And what will this look like and feel like and smell like around here when we engage and embrace our culture? Right? We have to create dialogue-driven experiences that frame things up differently than these one-way tells in communication. And so we always counsel our clients, strong visuals, not text-heavy PowerPoints, discovery-based learning. People want to get there on their own. You don't binge watch a show by watching the last episode of the last season first. Because if you did, you would not understand the plot or care about the characters, frankly, and you can't keep rolling out corporate initiatives in the same way. robs people of that journey. And lastly, dialogue, not passive consumption. How do we get people talking to each other in experiences, not just passively consuming content? It's a whirlwind of things, but it really boils down to this. Get a senior team that's honest about now and aligned on your story of the future. Equip your middle managers to drive engagement and change your corporate communication strategy for this moment in time, which requires dialogue, interactivity. And you say to me, what happens when we do these things? David, it sounds like pie in the sky. Well, interestingly, this guy got a haircut after one of these experiences that had his company's logo, or the initiative logo, shaved into his head. This other gentleman got a vanity plate with his customer service initiative that he ran at American Airlines. You're like, okay, fine, flash in the pan. Well, these two people got real tattoos of their corporate strategy. That's not a small tattoo. It's not like, check out my ankle, right? Because he was so bought into what United Rentals was doing, right? Now, this is not normal, but it's possible. If we engage our employees a different way, then we've got not just 21% of people hoping they can make it to another day. We've got to think differently about how we engage our people. Thank you.